evening. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to forgive me, but people have been getting on my case because I haven't been playing real video games. To counteract this, I've locked myself away without any access to the gaming world. And the physical one. See, in here, I've got nothing but a laptop loaded up with Roblox. Now nobody can get mad at me for not having played real video games like We Love Katamari. Ah! I'm safe now.
So here's the thing. I'm a bit of a stinker on Roblox. I find the vast majority of its player base and the content uploaded to the platform to be insufferable. Probably because the prime player base is half my age.
That's a good sentence to have on the record.
I played the game when I was younger, but eventually I graduated to real video games and assumed anyone with common sense did as well. It was a children's game for children. Playing when you had a mortgage to pay probably lowered your credit score and put you on a watch list. While I would occasionally return out of a sense of morbid curiosity or nostalgia, I was never under the impression that what I was doing was worthwhile. I have a shelf of games in my backlog, a stack of books unread, and a movie watch list collecting dust, and here I am, playing this bullshit. My disdain had me assuming that most of the adult population had moved on, learned to communicate with people outside of a middle school. So I was baffled when I found out that people my age, grown-ass adults, were telling me to hop onto Dandy's world. After conducting a full background check, I came to one conclusion. I should not talk to these friends anymore. That, and that Roblox had become a very different beast from what I knew it as, and I seemed to be the last person to figure this out.
What can I say? I was busy playing Yoomp.
Not only were the man-made creations far more elaborate than they were 10 years ago, but also full-on established game developers were creating experiences to hit that Roblox wave. There are people who put more hours into Roblox games than fully original titles, not just because they're free, but because they found them to be in-depth experiences. And I still had a stick up my ass.
Pillar chase means less to me than tooth protectors. Sue me.
I've been pretty adamant that Roblox games aren't real video games. They're extremely derivative or practically asset flips of other games half the time, and when they aren't, they just reek of amateur work, petty infighting, and aggressive monetization all over the projects. But the recent explosion in people taking games on the platform completely seriously has forced me to reevaluate my opinions. The question I want to come out of this with an answer for is simple. Are Roblox games real video games? Obviously, I think the legal answer here is no. Under definition, I think this would be qualified as an experience created and uploaded to the Roblox platform. But I do think it's worth examining, especially since I think there's very few things in the same vein as Roblox, and the ones that do exist are nowhere near as popular.
So that's why I've locked myself in here. Exposure therapy. Either I come around and see the errors of my ways on the fact that these are more than just disposable cash grabs, or the mob gets me.
In its start, Roblox was comparable to child-friendly platforms in its day, like Club Penguin or Animal Jam, an MMO for children with the revenue coming from character customization. The main thing setting Roblox apart was that everything on its platform was user-generated. The most comparable game I could probably relate this to is Everybody Edits, a now-defunct browser game where users would create small worlds within that game's framework.
I only bring this up because I played this way more as a child, and when Flash got discontinued, they had to take the game down. This is worse to me than the burning of the Library of Alexandria.
While there was a vast amount of human creativity and creation on Everybody Edits, I don't think anyone would qualify its experiences as original games, and the same went for Roblox in its early days. The popular experiences were basic tycoons, simple high-score games, obstacle courses, and of course, a lot of roleplay.
When I was a kid, I used to catfish dudes on the Roblox high school roleplay servers, and I would get really weirded out when they were like still into it. It's a miracle I didn't get groomed from the get-go.
Yes, people would refer to these as games, but with an asterisk. These were games, but they were games on Roblox. You wouldn't see these getting game awards anytime soon. If I had to make a comparison to a retail release, I would probably compare it to Little Big Planet, a platformer with an immensely robust level creation system that was the game's main selling point. You could make some crazy ass shit in these games, and while the majority of creations were standard platforming levels, there were also people making fighting games, tower defense games. Hell, I've seen first-person shooters made in this engine. While these projects were extremely impressive and by no means without impact, I don't think that there was any sort of conception that these experiences were full games. It was always evident that these were just Little Big Planet projects, never separate from the platform they were created in. Now, just because I'm adamant that the games on Roblox at the time were by no means real games, that's not to say they weren't experiences worth someone's time. Just because these were pieces and templates hacked together to create a basic experience doesn't mean that there wasn't effort or that these little worlds were just there to be discarded. There was still design and intent in how some of these experiences were supposed to be played, and even when it was a purely casual experience, it still led to player interaction with each other, or natural game design forming out of the puzzle pieces that the people playing it put together. It was like other child-friendly MMOs, a safe space for kids to just be kids and dick around online. I think the games allowing yourself to have a unified avatar across the platform also made a world of difference. While not a unique concept to MMOs, Roblox's simple style allowed for a lot of personal creativity, a lot like a Lego minifigure. Sure, a lot of it had to be purchased with the game's paid currency Robux, but I think it's a bit fair to expect something like that in a game of this style. It's not like other games of the era weren't doing the same, and Roblox had to pay to keep the servers up somehow. Allowing community members to make their own custom clothes was nice too, because it allowed more creativity and people to more accurately see what they wanted on their characters. I remember playing Animal Jam as a kid and being pissed that all the clothing options were too extravagant for what I wanted.
I was really adamant that I didn't want my neon-colored dog to look gay. I was the only one in the computer lab playing this shit. I don't think that a flower crown was gonna change anything.
Roblox was great because you could just find whatever you specifically wanted and slap it on you. What an honor! Roblox also used to have a secondary free currency in tickets, or ticks as they were commonly referred to as. These would be obtained by just playing the game, or off of commission from custom clothing sold on the Roblox marketplace. These could be exchanged for Robux and vice versa, so while it would definitely take a hot minute to be able to purchase anything of worth, nobody was ever locked out of content if they didn't want to shove money into the Roblox machine. This user customization is why I think Roblox was by far the most successful out of this era. It created an internal culture that was creative and welcoming while still having a distinct visual style. This extended to the actual experiences on the platform. If you give creative people tools, they will learn how to push them to their limits and try to make something amazing. Projects continued to advance, and alongside the Roblox engine getting continuous updates, the experiences on the platform became more and more extravagant, but alongside this, people began to take advantage of the platform in both good and bad ways. Eventually, Roblox gave you the option to exchange Robux for real-world money, which changed the virtual currency with no basis into the real world to something with real financial incentive to get. While microtransactions existed on the platform before and were very much encouraged, these didn't do anything aside from showing you were the coolest kid in school and letting the other players just get some more cosmetics. Now, people were able to make a living off the platform, meaning that games started using the same predatory tactics that real games had been using.
See, that's how you can tell these are real games. They care for me just as little as a real one.
Loot boxes, pay to revive, and game-specific skins started hitting like there was a recession. And while these practices are frowned upon in standard game releases, in a platform primarily directed towards children, it's borderline inexcusable. The game that was made for prepubescents had now turned into a child casino nearly overnight. And of course, Roblox, the platform, wasn't gonna step in here. It was their plan. Why else would they get rid of ticks around the same time? They wanted children to become addicted to spending money on their platform. And why would they do that? Because Roblox likes money!
What, you thought they were running this because they were pure of heart out of the kindness of their souls? No, nobody pure of heart would let this shit exist.
Suddenly, every game had login bonuses or pay-to-win status or or gacha mechanics, incentivizing kids to spend as much time as possible on these games to unload their parents' wallets. Now, in fairness to both Roblox and the developers of these games, creators on this platform should, and in some cases have to be compensated for the work they put into the titles on the platform, especially if they want these games to be maintained and updated. And in moderation, the practices being used in the games aren't necessarily malicious. It's not like other platforms weren't doing the same thing. It's just that all these problems were exponentially made worse on this platform, since both the player base and developers on the platform were young. Children just have worse financial judgment than an adult, so are more likely to spend more money, and of course a young developer wants to get paid for the work they're doing. And it's not like I'm completely pissing on the devs for trying to make a buck off their low-level development project. In fact, it's kind of the equivalent to a mid-roll ad in a YouTube video, something I'm quite familiar with.
I'm also familiar with uBlock Origin.
I think the difference here is that nobody's getting high on an ad slot outside the profiteer. I would know, but things like gacha systems can lead to legitimate and harmful addictions. Once again, I don't think this was a malicious attempt to ruin somebody's life by the object show, guys. Bad example.
There's a great evil in this shit, I can just tell.
I think this is just young developers learning what makes them an easy, quick buck and going with it. But due to these mechanics becoming so commonplace on the platform, it slowly changed how the average game and experience there was created, to the point that it became more shocking when gambling wasn't included in your Five Nights at Freddy's roleplay game. And these problems were just coming from the low-level devs back in the 2010s. Compound each dev trying to outdo each other for about a decade, and outside forces seeing how much money these games were making, and we get Jesus Christ!
Oh shit, they accidentally left some game in their ad.
In the modern day, Roblox is its own beast. Gone are the days of simple stickmen chatting it up with each other. Now we have a children's Vegas. That is to say, Vegas run by children. With Roblox being thoroughly explored and developed further, people have found out how to make some extraordinarily complex projects for how basic the engine is. I compared Roblox to Little Big Planet earlier, but in the modern day, it's more comparable to Planet's follow-up project, Dreams. Sure, the vast majority of experiences take heavily from the game's basic tools and are obviously made in the program, there's also a crazy amount of experiences the size of true game releases. However, unlike Dreams, people have started to refer to and discuss the experiences on Roblox as if they're full-on games. I think I've heard more about Pillar Chase than I've heard about any of Ubisoft's releases this year. Man, I never thought I'd miss shitting on Ubisoft.
You don't know what you really had until it's dandy.
Roblox is no longer just a single or small circle of amateurs dicking around with the game's basic functions for fun. Now there's full-on paid development teams who have dedicated jobs creating Roblox experiences, and not just small promotional worlds, actual full titles where the main product is the Roblox experience. Hell, you can walk down the toy aisle in a Walmart and it's not unlikely that you'll see a plush for Piggy. And I'm sure Mall Plush Kiosks International are rushing to make an Animal Hospital bootleg as we speak. And if that wasn't surprising enough, established game developers are choosing Roblox as a viable platform to take refuge in. I'm confident that Sonic Speed Simulator saw more players in a single day than Sonic Rumble has seen in its lifetime. The amount of support that Roblox has received in recent days has been insane, leading it to become one of the most played games ever. Something that the industry has definitely noticed. I mean, look at Fortnite's poor attempt to replicate it with Fortnite's community maps. While by no means is community content a concept original to Roblox, you can kind of see the difference between a custom TF2 server and just another attempt to hijack children's attention. Fortnite's controls are too complex to be malleable in the same way that Roblox is, leading to an experience that makes me just want to go back to playing Roblox.
That's the gaming equivalent of going back to an emotionally abusive ex because your new partner stabbed you.
Roblox is one of the most played games in the world, but since it's both community made and not consolidated to a single experience on the platform, it's more apt to say that it's one of the most used platforms in gaming currently.
Everyone experiences trauma differently.
Roblox is an ecosystem, and while I'm sure there's one freak who logs on to play a single game every day for 6 years straight, most people who use the platform are probably playing multiple games over time that are collaborating or feeding off several other Roblox experiences. It's just hard to explain that to the general gaming world at large, that Roblox is more than it was when it began, that it's evolved past its primitive roots, even if they were playing as the change took place. Hell, I'm guilty of this. Whenever I hear a kid say they're playing Roblox, I have a hard time imagining them playing anything other than a glorified walking simulator. The Roblox release format doesn't even necessarily hold developers back due to its simple nature. In fact, that's its greatest strength. Like any other game engine, it has plenty of presets and tutorials to get a fresh developer started and creating quickly. Sure, the vast majority of projects are essentially walking simulators or less than that, but a program like Roblox that allows all the annoying backend stuff that a young developer probably wouldn't be interested in learning yet to be taken care of is good, because it does let the more creative end of a blooming creative take shape with less friction than something like Unity. It's similar to something like Scratch, where it's more teaching about the practical application of development than the actual nitty-gritty coding and management that full releases take, except on a much more ambitious scale than Scratch. Roblox being free and allowing any game to automatically have a server is definitely a boon to smaller developers. Children today are both less tech literate than the generation before it, but this option is also just convenient. Roblox allows amateurs to take a gamble on more bizarre online experiences, or try out genres that cost major corporations millions to fail at. I couldn't imagine Sony making something like Regretivator or Nintendo making Nullscape, and even if they did, there's a very high likelihood that it wouldn't succeed nearly as much as the Roblox versions we have now. These being on a free centralized platform where trying a new game is as easy as clicking a button makes these smaller experiences easier to discover and allows the games to find an audience that they most likely wouldn't find anywhere else.
Because if I saw this on the eShop, I'd throw a tantrum. Who the f am I kidding?
Despite all the good Roblox as a platform can be for developers, I do worry about them because they are still mostly young creatives, and I worry that being on this platform and trying to accommodate to it are teaching them the wrong lessons about game development. The platform being an extension of the modern internet pretty much guarantees that any game that gets popular will gain fandom, and fandom surrounding an audience this young with developers equally as young just breeds so many issues. Someone on their way to AP Lit doesn't have time to be a community manager, and if even a single issue is found, a frenzy of drama follows. With the developers being so close to the fans, controversy is bound to happen, and nobody is prepared for that in this scenario. This leads to many teams either lashing out at their audience or buckling under the weight of tens of thousands of loud vocal players who have had direct access to the creators. On top of this, Roblox both prioritizes experiences that bring in a lot of revenue and attention, and obviously they would. As we've established, the company likes having money, but this leads to a significant lack in single-player experiences and encourages the games to have the same predatory features that gacha games and literal casinos use to give people addictions. If Roblox cared, they would take stronger action against these user-unfriendly practices, but they care more about money, so here they stay. Fortunately, most of these games are fully playable, or at least functional without any microtransactions, but it's clear that spending money is baked into the core Roblox experience. Hell, when corporate entities started making their own projects for the platform, they just couldn't help themselves and also fell into the same trap. When games aren't frying infants' dopamine receptors, they're taking a pre-existing game and bootlegging it for the Roblox crowd. Now, in premise, this sounds really bad, but let's be real. If you're playing the Roblox alternative to a real game, it's not likely that this is eating up a potential sale for the genuine article. Rather, this is the game equivalent of ice soup.
We don't get much better than this!
A not insignificant amount of the experiences on the platform are B-grade versions of other games, and it's easy to see this and express a lack of creativity. And while this is certainly the case often, I don't necessarily think that this is the end of discussion for these games. Sometimes a game being online changes the entire tone and experience of the game, and just because something is unoriginal, it doesn't mean that the effort wasn't put in to make it fun. Compare the game Danganronpa to its Roblox counterfeit, Carnage. While in premise and presentation the same, Carnage being an online experience makes it a completely different thing than that of the narrative mystery that Danganronpa is. It explores the setting and premise in a new way, with your communication in-game with the chat creating natural comedy that sprouts up by playing with real-ass people, making the game more similar to something like Among Us, or the Dead by Daylight clones on Roblox that are too numerous to count. Sure, while most of them are practically clones of each other, the different rosters give them a reason to exist alongside the additions of characters that would never exist in a retail game.
I think that we can all agree a retail release featuring stupid f***ing Sonic.Exe would be a landmark moment for gaming.
The problem with a lot of the games on Roblox that I have is that they're not being taught how to develop satisfying games. Most of the popular games on the platform can be qualified into either rage games, asymmetrical games that thrive in being unbalanced experiences, or games where the gameplay is secondary to what's actually going on. Not to say that any of these genres of games are bad, but there is a lack of variety in the games that are on the platform. There's very minimal single-player experiences, and even less multiplayer experiences that are trying to fully develop their concepts. The reason there's so many asymmetrical horror games in the vein of Dead by Daylight is because these don't need to be well balanced. Them being unbalanced is the point. But aside from the occasional first-person shooter, there's very few games where all players are on equal ground. I would almost say that Roblox is to gaming what YouTube is to film or TV. The majority of YouTube's content is e-waste, garbage flung onto the platform because a child fumbled their way through the upload process. But for every video of your uncle's kitchen and guitar practice video nobody watched, there are genuinely entertaining personalities, well-researched topics that would never make it to TV, and just pure unbridled creativity that wouldn't fit into the traditional media landscape. Just because these are made by amateurs or young creators, it doesn't make them without value. There are YouTube videos that are far and away better than the programs on network television, and TV shows that fail to grasp the very simple ingenuity that YouTube videos have figured out for years. This is the same case for Roblox, where those who are untrained or unable to work in the game space due to lack of experience, or a concept not working due to concept or budget, or even straight up just age, are able to upload their games to the platform. Both YouTube and Roblox are also nebulous with copyright. YouTubers consistently use footage or audio they legally don't own, and Roblox devs do the same with game concepts. The difference here is that YouTube's made legal deals with so many companies to allow this content to make money, and Roblox hasn't, leading to most games either flying under the radar of the copyright holders, or they have to remove what they don't own. This is both a pro and a con in my eyes. Using pre-existing assets from other projects can be a good way to fill in the gaps in what you either can't produce on your own, or just to show off your inspirations. It shows that you're not trying to make a buck off of a bootleg, but instead showing your project was made out of love. However, being forced to adapt is both a necessity and just a good skill to have for any creative person. While it stinks to have to change Springtrap to Stonehusk, it teaches how to redesign or straight up design a new character with the same tone, forcing a creator to learn how to more practically apply inspiration than just straight up reusing something that you don't own. Like, look at these designs from the Mario-inspired Roblox game Faucet Freaks. While the inspiration is obvious, these takes on these characters range from unique to borderline unrecognizable to the original. It lets personal artistry and ingenuity shine through what might have been written off as just another Mario fan project. Outside of the standard games and experiences on the platform, the Roblox Corporation keeps doing some pretty wacky stuff with their platform. Wow, that's wacky! Roblox has had a bit of an identity crisis for quite a number of years now. They've definitely stepped away from the aesthetics that their original iteration of the platform had, which I truly do not understand. Instead of base simplicity with customization on top of that, they've gone all in on presenting the platform with these plastic homunculus people that I swear I've never seen a person use in game. Giving the players the option to have realistic proportions, that's fine I suppose, and allowing for more complex rigs and characters is just giving the creators more tools to visually vary their games from the others. But removing the style that made you iconic from all your marketing is such a strange choice. Hell, I'd be willing to say it's straight up a bad one. These blocky characters were primitive by necessity originally, but they were also so non-representative of real people that the simple shape of these characters was recognizable as Roblox. It was just the right in-between of customizable avatar and iconic brand image. These things, these just look like a toy you'd find in the clearance aisle. It's become so cluttered and specific on what you're supposed to look like in a very corporate way. Like, did the cardboard box man need to adhere to modern beauty standards? Does every woman in this game need to have anorexia? This shit isn't Gacha Life, it's a goofy game creator. And it's not like the people using the platform want this. They're either importing models from other games or using the same aesthetics that built the platform. The revenue sources of this game aren't interested into turning this into Unreal Engine. They revel in the blocky, primitive look of Roblox. Hell, I don't even know why you'd really want to advance this from a technical perspective. Half the Roblox player base are on mobile devices or Chromebooks, low-end gaming devices that can't handle high-quality graphics. Would you not want to appeal to those on the lower end so that anyone can get on your platform and start shoveling money into the machine? Roblox's simplicity was its strength, not something holding it it back. But deliberately pushing away the crowd with lower-end devices seems like a bit of self-sabotage. I'm not saying to neuter advancement in your game because the game needs to run on a Kindle Fire, but it's clear that Roblox doesn't even really see itself as a platform or an engine anymore. Instead, it sees itself as more of a social media. Uh-oh.
A social media for children! What could possibly go wrong?
Another problem that affected Roblox that's more of a difficult thing to talk about is more how the internet evolved around it. Children's spaces on the internet don't really exist anymore, and the ones that still exist have been swamped with adults who refuse to move on. I get it, I'm the pot calling the kettle black here, but I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with dicking around in Roblox as an adult. But that's because I don't go on Roblox to chat up the minors.
I have to clarify this because a lot of people see this as the grooming equivalent to fast food.
Not only are the geriatric mixing with the prepubescent, Roblox encourages it. Why?
Would you believe me if I said it was to combat age discrimination?
More players means more money, it's simple. And adults actually have money and kids don't. For years, Roblox kind of pretended this didn't exist, but due to widespread allegations about the platform as a whole, they introduced age verification, a process in which you would have to scan your government ID to gain access to the chat. While the effort to keep kids safe is appreciated to an extent, this is entirely the wrong way to go about something like this. Ignoring the risks that come with giving these guys my driver's license, removing the ability for the game's prime player base to interact with the in-game community drives them off of the website. And when every one of these games have a Discord server without the same resource as a platform as big as Roblox, it puts them at a greater risk than if they saw a guy say boner over text chat. I think restricting voice chat unless your age is verified is perfectly reasonable, but removing communication entirely, especially when many games rely on text chat, is not only annoying, it's irresponsible. Later on, they introduced the ability to scan your face instead of sending in your ID and having AI predict your age. Hey Roblox, if I had the allegations you did, I wouldn't be collecting a database of children's faces with AI. I also wouldn't be trying to add a dating feature.
Woo! We getting some Roblox puss tonight!
The game is becoming actively hostile to its target player base, and it's not like they're just gonna stop playing, they're just gonna find new ways to interact with the people who play the games that they play, leading to higher risk for the players. But since it's only mildly hinted at on the Roblox platform, instead of it all entirely taking place on it, this is considered a win to Roblox the company.
I also just think it's weird that Roblox CEO Dave Baszucki keeps trying to set the adult age gate at 17 plus instead of 18 plus. That's like when a porn artist sets their account status at 16 plus. It kind of just gives away the game here.
Now, I'm not gonna pretend like Roblox the corporate entity and Roblox's user base or creators are by any means the same. I have never once talked to somebody who uses Roblox in any way ever admit that Roblox has their best interest in mind. Everybody is quite aware of the issues on the platform, but use it mostly out of convenience and familiarity.
Yeah, but I've still got a stick up my ass about the platform, so I'll still bitch.
While I'm willing to think that the majority of devs using Roblox have good intentions, there are equally as many coming in with nefarious reasons. And I'm not talking about the ones that Chris Hansen's looking for. The way that YouTube is infested with dopamine-frying attention predators who are only trying to make a quick buck by skirting TOS, Roblox has the playable version of sensory overloads to trick children into shoveling money into their predatory low-effort experiences. These, I think, are the devs that truly give Roblox the terrible name that it's gotten, given that so many of the top games on the platform are the playable equivalent to Cougar McDowell. Luckily, if you go in and can sniff out the bad actors, the platform can have surprisingly worthwhile experiences, and with the amount of creativity and genuine work going into the projects on the platform, I can't help but realize I was kind of in the wrong. While there are a lot of experiences with garbage, any community with user-created content will have its share of garbage. Roblox's appeal to me at a young age is that it was a platform mostly constructed out of passion. The people making the games were amateurs, and even when a game soared above the others, it wasn't anywhere close to industry level. It was a place where I as a child could talk to other people my age and dick around. An MMO where skill wasn't a requirement to play, but there was still games to actually play. Now, it's a different beast. And while I would say objectively the platform itself has gotten worse, that doesn't mean it's all bad. In fact, I'm willing to say that most of it is inoffensive or on rare occasions, good. While there is a very fuzzy line between playable e-waste and worthwhile experience, experience. Those worthwhile experiences are in there, and I have to admit, are real video games. However, I will still say that these aren't proper releases, just due to their form factor. While there are feature-length, highly edited YouTube videos on par with real films, due to how they were published and the fact that they're not really interacting with the industry at large, I don't think they could really be called proper releases. And the same logic follows for Roblox. These aren't games you can own a copy or a license of. They're projects made through the internet, not at an industry level. And while that doesn't leave them as pieces of art without worth, it does neuter their ability to live in the game's landscape as a whole, and confines them to the Roblox ecosystem. The best advice I can give to a Roblox developer is that Roblox should never be your permanent home, or your work will grow stagnant and you will be stuck in the nosebleeds with other artists who do not have the same ambition to grow. Roblox is like training wheels for the creation of games. It can be really good for teaching you how to bring a project to the finish line, but it also does neuter the kind of games or art you're allowed to make. If you've already completed the first few projects, now it's time to up your game with a more difficult one. Learn a new game engine or apply your skills elsewhere. Become more ambitious and keep creating. Just don't allow yourself to become complacent in what's already succeeded for you. As for the players, you cannot only be playing Roblox games. That's like only watching YouTube videos instead of getting any hobby. While there are an unlimited amount of great projects on both platforms, they can only branch out so much. Take in art outside of what's easy to find or free, and you will find so many amazing things that could never exist in the confines of the walls of Roblox. It can give you a more in-depth palette and understanding of what makes a good game. And if you decide to go back to Roblox, you'll be able to spot bad actors and those who don't care about their work past the paycheck a lot easier. Hell, it might give you the inspiration to make your own project, and you can outshine the schmucks you know you can do better than with your new knowledge. For everyone on the platform, it's good to remember to not keep your eggs in one basket, because if that basket breaks, you are f***ed. And given how the Roblox Corporation's been acting in recent years, the basket's damage is starting to become evident.
That being said, I've done it! I've finally justified my addiction to baby games! And now that I'm done with that, I'm feeling real hankered for a retail release.